A pleasant good morning to all of you out there. Welcome to the program agenda. Thank you for joining us once again here on One News PH. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and we thank you for subscribing to Cignal TV and watching us via channels 8 and 250. You can also watch us via Facebook.com/One News PH. But I would strongly suggest that you subscribe to Cignal TV because it seems that Facebook has been having challenges, both technical and political lately. So medyo baka ma-miss nyo yung mga magagandang programs in the near future. Now, for those of you who also want other alternatives, you can download the Cignal Play app and also watch us and our replays via YouTube. Just type in One News PH and search for Agenda. Okay, today is October 12, 2021. And for today, we will be speaking actually. Hindi naman tayo masyadong nag-i-interview. Nakikipagkwentuhan lang po. We like to have talks with key people in government, in industry, and in society. And today, we will be speaking with the spokesperson of the Commission on Human Rights, or CHR, and we will also be speaking to one of our fellow hosts on One News PH, and we will be talking about social media. If you haven't seen the documentary Social Dilemma on Netflix, I strongly encourage you to watch it, not to sway you in one way or another, but that documentary has been out there for quite some time, and it has made a lot of people wonder, ask themselves, nakakatulong ba, is social media helpful? Because it seems, and it has been established by many experts, that social media, particularly Facebook, has been used, ginamit po ng mga politiko worldwide to manipulate not the elections, not campaigns, but people's mind. Akala ninyo kayo ay nag-Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, etc. Pero yun pala ay some other people, because the social media was developed by a group of people for good, for sosyalan nga, okay, for social purposes. But of course, where there is good, there is evil. And the evil people in society found a way to use social media to manipulate, direct, influence how you think. Just a key. I thought that in the family, what I saw was what my wife saw, what my daughter saw, yung bang commonality. But it seems that depende dun sa mga friends mo, mga likes mo, social media, particularly Facebook, is able to introduce key posts, or pinopoke ka para, hey, watch this, or this is of interest, etc. Yung iba unsolicited, di ba ngayon? Like in my case, tataka ako, why do I keep getting a lot of advertisements for gambling? Hindi naman ako nagagamble. So obviously, the Facebook is trying to get me to click and tweak my curiosity. Pag kinlik ko yun, babahain na tayo ng puro ganon. Okay, anyway, before we get carried away with our topics for today, let's go to our daily starter. It is from Luke 4:18. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because He has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim liberty to the captives and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty those who are oppressed. Okay, now many of you will think of this or relate this passage in the Bible to Jesus Christ declaring his anointing or his appointment or establishing himself as the Messiah. Pero if you put it into real world context, in reality and present day concerns, I was led to use this Bible verse, particularly in relation to the passing of Commission on Human Rights Chair Chito Gascon, the work he did, and the CHR. Because we always think the holy is for God or the priests or the pastors, the politics is for congressmen, senators, etc. Paano na kayo? What about you? And here, okay, it is possible if you believe you are a Catholic, Christian, Iglesia, Muslim, if you are really serious about your faith and your calling, it is clear that you too would be anointed to proclaim the good news to the poor. Not just the gospel, but hope. Give hope to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim liberty to the captives. Maraming captive of addiction, captive of their criminal behavior, captive in bad marriages, etc. So help them, give them hope, and recovering of the sight to the blind, and set at liberty those who are oppressed. Marami pong mga talunan, pighati. There are many people who need freedom. Not just human rights, but human challenges. And it is for us to help them. That is from Luke 4:18. I encourage all of you to look around you. Tingnan niyo po yung paligid niyo. Sino ba ang pwede niyong matulungan? Lahat po tayo makakatulong. Okay, let's go to the front page of the Philippine Star and let's look at the headlines. And there you go, vaccination for general adult population starts. Medyo, when I read this headline, medyo na-weird ako. Sabi ko, dati nang ginagawa. We've been doing that for so many months. Well, I guess the idea is for everyone, okay? Kasi, di ba, the focus was always in NCR, etc. Anyway, yun po yung headline. Take it for what it is. Assistant Secretary Maria Rosario Vergere said, well, in fact, it's already been ongoing, but now they are simply spreading it out, rolling it out. Okay, now let's go to the header of the front page. There you go, doctors slam Rodi for obstructing Senate probe. 300 doctors, several past president of medical associations and groups, and 4 former DOH secretary declared their disapproval, their indignation against the interference of President Rodi Duterte in the Senate probe into healthcare-related corruption and anomalies. So, ayan po, no? Yung mga doktor ay nagsasalita na and it was stated that they cannot take this sitting down, especially when the anomalies directly impact and put at risk healthcare workers. Okay, back to the front page of the Philippine Star. There you go. Storm Cignal raised as maring intensifies. Medyo kahapon po yan at kagabi. Typhoon Maring intensified and but the good news is I think so far very minimal fatality. Baka isa, dalawa lang yata yung lumalabas. And also that the typhoon is on its way out of the Philippine area of responsibility. On the left hand of the front page, upper portion, first-time voters, yun po, no, bilang Pilipino 2022, first-time voters sit on the curb outside the mall in Manila yesterday as the Commission on Election resumed its voter registration. Okay, now further lower in the front page, we have COMELEC. Yan, 47,853 ang nag-a-apply po ng political position in government. 47,853 are vying for 18,000 posts, magmula presidente hanggang barangay chairman and kagawad, I suppose, in the 2022 polls. And there were 97 candidates applying who filed their candidacy for president and 29 for vice president. Mabuti na lang hindi ako nabaliw o nadamay dyan sa sitwasyon na yan. Imagine that the election will probably be another spreading the margarine or the butter kind of election where sobrang nipis ang magiging lamang. Magkakarambulan na naman yan. Okay, chances high for alert level 3 in NCR. Okay, that is the declaration of spokesman Harry Roque saying there's a high chance of a lowering of alert level. The data do indicate that we are ready for a lower alert level. We need it so we can have more jobs. And ayun po, no? Now, yung picture na yan, makikita nyo yung mga resident, mga nagpapagupit, nagpapa-shampoo, and Ruth Castello of the DTI conducting her inspections regarding health protocols. Okay. And lower, we have yun, nako, yun, maganda yun. Okay. Fear me not, I am vaccinated. A resident poses with this free t-shirt and bag of rice and receiving the first dose of Sinovac yesterday. Hindi ko lang nabanggit dito kung saan ba itong lugar na ito. Pero yun po ang gimmick, no? Gimmick yan sa isang barangay na namimigay na ng bigas, may libreng t-shirt pa. And I just hope that does not escalate into a pre-election electioneering program. Okay, Malacanang has finally congratulated Nobel Prize winner Maria Ressa. Kasi may mga nagka-criticize or nagko-comment na bakit you are so quiet. But the Malacanang extended its congratulations, pero may pahabol pa eh. She still has to clear her name in 2 cases of libel. Okay, anyway, ayun po. Let's move forward. Lower COVID-19 tally of cases. 8,000. Sandali. Ayun, okay. Unahin na natin. Gustong-gusto talaga ng ating EP mag-Christmas na. Robinson's Mall continues its yearly tradition of spreading the Christmas joy by putting up their multiple Christmas trees. Yan po, no? Yan po ay nasa Robinson's Galleria. Okay. Now, let's move back. Okay. Yung ano naman, yung malungkot na balita. Hindi, pwede na. Number of active cases reported yesterday, 8,292 na laang. Bumaba po from 10,000. It went down to 8,000, which is good. Number of deaths, malungkot pa rin po because 36 people passed away yesterday. And thank God, medyo hindi tayo tumalon kagad to 40,000. Still hovering at the boundary of 39,660 dead Filipinos from COVID-19. Pero K1, K40,000, patay pa rin yan at malungkot pa rin yan sa namamatayan. Okay. And finally, the Commission on Higher Education is now considering in-person classes for all degree programs. Okay? Chairman Prospero de Vera noted that the limited face-to-face classes are now permitted for medicine and allied health sciences, engineering and technology, hospitality, hotel and restaurant management, tourism, travel management, marine engineering, and marine transportation. Pero parang gusto nila lahatin na. Hindi naman po problema yan. Sinabi naman kasi sa inyo, why don't you simply vaccinate all the college students when they enroll? Okay? So, kumbaga, pre-enrollment requirement, come to the university and be vaccinated. No vaccination, no enrollment. Okay, let's wrap it up. That is the front page of the Philippine Star today, October 12, 2021. October 12 laang pala, no? Akala ko 13 na eh. Okay, now let's move to our first interview for the day. As you all know, Commission on Human Rights Chairman Chito Gascon recently passed away at the very young age of 57. Mas bata pa siya sa tatay ko nung namatay. My father Louis Beltran, passed away at 58. But mercifully, my father died instantly kasi massive heart attack. With Chito Gascon, medyo he still had to struggle because of COVID-19, and it brought home the reality that lahat po tayo walang mataas mababa. Okay, so anyway, let's go now find out how are things at the CHR and who will step in, who will be the next Chito Gascon as far as human rights is concerned. Let's speak with the spokesperson of the Commission on Human Rights, Attorney Jacqueline de Guia. Attorney, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Sito, as well as to our viewers. It's a pleasure to be in your show.
Okay. Well, first of all, please accept our condolences and please extend it to the family of Chairman Gascon, because we truly felt, we felt your loss, and it was also the loss of Filipino people. Now, parang napaisip marami sa amin eh. Very few are as courageous, as bold as Chito Gascon. Siya yung parang Superman ba? Mild manner, Clark Kent, mahinhin magsalita. Pero ang talim nung pananalita. And sabi ko, sino kaya papalit kay Chito Gascon? Marami pa bang nakatago dyan sa cabinet ng CHR na mga Superman at Superwoman?
Sito, he was fortunate enough to work with 4 other commissioners who are equally as intelligent and as dynamic as he is. We would often say that this is one of the most vibrant commissions that we've ever had. What he left behind is a commission consisting of Commissioner Leia Armamento. She came from the DOJ. She was a former undersecretary. And then we have Commissioner Gwendolyn Pimentel Gana. She came from the legislative and she had advocacies on child rights. And then we have Commissioner Karen Gomez Dumpit. She is an insider. She had a long career in CHR and she was exposed to various issues. And we also have Commissioner Totsi. He represents civil society. He came from Libertas, and he was a practicing lawyer before he joined the CHR. So we still have a majority in the commission. It's a collegial body, and so one of the things that they surfaced a while ago is that they wanted to ask whether how things are at CHR. We are still functioning. We will remain steadfast to our mandate. We source our strength and our function from the Constitution, and that is very clear to us.
Okay, now, as you gave out the roll call of commissioners, napansin ko lang that is predominantly parang only one guy, the rest were women, unless I didn't hear properly. No? Two guys.
Yes.
Okay, two men and how many women? Six women?
Three women. Chair would often call them the three furies because they are passionate. They are all, whenever they discuss things as a collegial body, is the discussion is very intense. The
Mm-hmm.
discussion is very intellectual. Each would bring their own perspective into the table, and that is what a commission of CHR would should be, because one of the principles of vibrant NHRI is pluralism. We would like all members of the commission to be coming from diverse background, from diverse sectors of the society, so that they mirror different issues. They bring in different perspectives.
Okay, Attorney De Guia, what exactly does the CHR do in real terms? Kasi pag merong mass killing, merong mga pinasabog na yung mga terrorist, or may mga napatay yung mga tao related to the drug war daw, uh, it has been limited to, one side or another saying, well, condemn the people behind this, make a statement, etc. Pero sabi ko, most people think yun lang ba ang trabaho ng CHR, to condemn? Please take advantage of this time so people can understand what exactly do you guys, or do you people do? Sorry, hindi guys, no, parang hindi
Yeah,
gender sensitive talaga si Beltran, eh, no?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well, Sito, our mandate has often been misunderstood. The CHR prior to Chair Chito was relatively unknown. And the first confusion stemmed from our mandate with regards investigation. People often thought that we are like the police, that we must take jurisdiction over common crimes, especially when the rights, say for example, of those killed pertain to life, for example, to dignity and all that. Often failing to understand that there is a distinction between common crimes and human rights violations. And the CHR takes cognizance of cases only when, for example, the perpetrator happens to be a state agent. In that regard, we do recognize that as state agents, they have a heavy responsibility of ensuring the protection and promotion of human rights.
Mhm.
Where the victim is a member of the vulnerable sector, say for example, she is a woman, she is pregnant, she's a senior, he or she is a senior citizen, member of the LGBTQI plus community, then we also take cognizance. There are also instances when, say for example, there are NPA attacks. In this case, the perpetrators are non-state actors, but because of IHL, we have been given a special jurisdiction to look into these violations. Then we take cognizance of those cases. And recently, business and human rights has also been a relevant issue. So those are the four instances that
What
we take.
what do you mean, business and human rights?
Chita, the old school of thought would always say that human rights is primarily a state obligation. And that is
Hmm.
rightly so in the beginning, when states have the monopoly of power, of influence in our society. But recently, because of globalization, we saw how businesses were able to shape human life and therefore impact human rights. And now we have the Rugi framework. We do say that although human rights is not primarily the obligation of businesses, they should take a voluntary role, and they should embrace that responsibility in making sure that their businesses do not result to also aggravating human rights and conditions. And it must go beyond corporate social responsibility. Say, for example, mining. It's not enough that they send a few scholars to universities just to counter the ill effects of their operations, but their operations must really be based on frameworks that will, in the long run, take care of the environment. Recently, there has just been a pronouncement from the UN that that it's a human right to have a sustainable environment. So, though human rights is constantly evolving, and the first misconception about CHR is that we are the police. Again, the public fails to understand when we talk about human rights, it's primarily the state's obligation, and the CHR is a monitor, is a watchdog. We ensure that government, through its executive, most especially, is able to provide basic services, public services that pertain to our human rights. And then, of course, we have our advisory role, and that is what probably you were talking about a while ago. It is our obligation to monitor government's treaty obligations. It is our function to recommend effective measures to Congress. And it is our function also to educate the public. So in this regard, what we do is to submit position papers, and we issue advisories to the public about our position on key human rights issues. And then we issue also press statements. In the time of Chair Chito, it has been very crucial for us to talk about several issues, to address those matters, even if it was unpopular, and to bring out there our position. And as an educator, we have to educate people about human rights and about the mandate of the CHR. That has been especially difficult in the time of social media. There has been a lot of disinformation and misinformation in the past years. We had to make sure that we were also very accessible to the people, that we also had to engage people in social media platforms, because that is where the conversation is going on. And then, of course, we also have our mandate on legal protection. Uh, we do um, we do give legal assistance to the vulnerable, and then we
Mhm.
also visit detention facilities. So that, in a nutshell, is the mandate of the CHR. We've often been misunderstood, Sita.
So you give policy recommendations, you remind the government regarding our treaty obligations, you ensure that the United Nations identified human rights are observed and recognized,
That's
and
right.
you provide legal assistance. When you say, so iba yung, it's different to provide a lawyer, it is different to file cases, legal
That's
cases
right.
against someone. Is the CHR obligated or empowered to authorize to actually file cases against state actors or government officials or representatives or employees of government?
No, Sito. The CHR is primarily an investigative body, and therefore, our findings will result to recommendations, and these recommendations are submitted to the appropriate fora. Say, for example, the NPS, the Ombudsman, the IAS, and we rely upon these other pillars of the justice system to act on those recommendations. We do belong in the first pillar on the investigation side. We don't have prosecutorial powers right now, and therefore we rely upon other agencies to act on our recommendations, and that is the reason why it's very important that there is a whole of governance approach when it comes to addressing human rights violations.
Yeah, Attorney De Guia, you are part of the Philippine government, correct?
That's right. We are a state institution. We source our budget from the government. However, we are part of the CIFA group, or as what you would say. This is a group of the constitutional commissions and the constitutional offices. So we are similar to the Ombudsman and to the CSC COA as well as COMELEC in the regard that uh, we are independent. We are neither part of the executive, the legislative, or the judiciary, but we are
Mhm.
part of government. And our role is to monitor, to provide check and balance to the government. And that is the reason why there may have been unpopular stances in the past, but that was necessary to institute reforms and to advise government to take the right direction.
Yes, I mean that would be you would be unpopular if you were to focus strictly on the checks and balance aspect. But on the other hand, that's why I raised the point of the CHR being part of government. One would imagine that your services or your tasks would be appreciated by government and by the executive because you kind of guide them. You put light and you actually protect the interest of the executive so that people who may decide to abuse power can be identified and removed from the executive kasi parang napolitika you know, the relationship of the CHR with Malacanang, particularly the president, has been so politicized that it almost looked like personalan. But if you were to step back and I would listen to you, you've never filed a case against anybody because you don't have that authority or that it's not your job to file cases. So kumbaga iniimbestiga nyo, pinapakinggan ninyo, and then you simply but you first let it known to the who. If let's say that
Yes.
CHR discovers, ay nako, merong mali dito, something's wrong here, or there is a violation of human rights, to whom do you first report this finding, aside from, of course, the board of the CHR? Do you report it to the Secretary of DOJ or directly to the President?
Yes, you know, you're very spot on in your first observation. What has been failed to be captured by the general public is our engagement with a lot of government agencies. When I talked about position papers a while ago, we would submit that to the legislative. We would be attending hearings, congressional hearings about legislation that talks about human rights. We also have a lot of interagency meetings with a lot of government agencies. Our educational services are focused also on different sectors of the society, and we also collaborate with the security sector in this regard. So there are a
Yeah,
lot of
but you're not attorney. Let's go for a quick break, but and then balikan ko yung yung question
yes,
ko. Who do you first report to?
I
Kasi syempre,
uh,
parang lahat tayo may boss di ba? Ako nagre-report sa commander-in-chief ko, Mrs. ko. Okay, we'll go for a quick break. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Okay, welcome back to the program Agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and with us is Attorney Jacqueline de Guia, spokesperson of the Commission on Human Rights. Attorney de Guia, back to my question. Let's say you were called in, or first, do you do investigations motu proprio on your own? And if you discover that there was a serious or actual human rights violation, who do you report this to as far as protocols are concerned?
Okay, so we do have two ways by which we take cognizance of cases. One is by motu proprio, and the second is upon complaint of any party. And if, for example, we do already have findings, and these are mirrored in our final investigation reports and subsequently a resolution, what we do is to submit it to concerned agencies in the government. So, for example, if the investigation results to a policy recommendation, say for example, we want the PNP to enhance its manual of procedure, then we submit it to the PNP. If, for
Mm.
example, we found out that there should be charges filed, and this should be administrative or criminal in nature, then we either submit it to the ombudsman, to the prosecutor, or say, for example, to other administrative sanctioning agencies. And then, if, for example, we found out that there was a human rights violation and the victim is entitled to financial assistance, then the same resolution would tell the CHR, for example, to grant financial assistance to those victims. We don't necessarily submit reports to the president directly because we're not under the executive, but through its different agencies under it, then we are able to ensure that our recommendations reach them and hopefully are acted upon.
Okay, now what happens with it? Kasi another question that I had in mind was, do you only act on big cases, serious cases? Kasi parang
No, yeah.
please.
Sito, before this administration, majority of the cases, probably 80% of our cases, are only ordinary cases. Ordinary in the regard that these are not the big cases, not the sensational cases. These are cases pertaining to everyday life. People come into the commission for domestic abuse cases. They ask for legal advice pertaining to their work, their land issues, demolitions. So the rape cases, child abuse cases, those were the usual cases that we were handling prior to the war on drugs.
Okay,
And then there's
so
only a handful of sensational cases, only a handful of serious human rights violations such as torture, enforced disappearance, or as what we would say, extrajudicial killings.
okay, now to close up or wrap up our interview for today, and this won't be the last interview, attorney. We have always been supportive of the CHR. How are you guys, or yan na naman, guys na naman, how are the people at the CHR going to select the next chairperson? Is it done by a vote, by appointment? Who and how do you end up being a member of the CHR?
Well, first, Chito, it's the executive that appoints members of the commission. It's unfortunate that Chito passed away before his term ends on May next year. There would have been a sixth commission coming in during May 5 of next year. And then there is one principle that national human rights institutions such as ours abide by, and that is the principle of pluralism. As I mentioned a while ago, you would want members of the commission to come from diverse backgrounds so that they are able to mirror different perspectives when they're able to decide on matters pertaining to human rights. And then we also want the commission to be independent. And then they apply or they are selected by the executive.
Okay, so the chairperson will be selected by the sitting president.
That's right.
Okay, well, good luck on that one. We don't know who will be the next, but does he get to choose outside, or he has to choose from the existing members of the
Well,
panel?
can do both actually. As I mentioned a while ago, we have four dynamic commissioners left. We are hopeful that one will be chosen among them. If, for example, the president chooses not to appoint one, then that's perfectly all right too, because we still have a majority. It's a collegial body, so not one single person decides on critical issues, but it's by a majority vote. And therefore, the CHR remains to function even at this time.
Okay, napansin ko lang mukhang malumanay kayong lahat. Ako hindi ako pwede dyan dahil mainitin ang ulo ko. Okay, thank you very much, Attorney Jacqueline de Guia, and our prayers go to the members of the CHR and the family of Chair Chito Gascon. We salute him because he brought pride, dignity, and honor to the CHR and to the Filipino people. Have a good day, Attorney.
Yes, Ito, it's a pleasure.
Okay, yan po, that is Attorney Jacqueline de Guia, spokesperson of the Commission on Human Rights, and we will go for a quick break. And when we come back, nako, usapan pong interesante, very interesting, because we will be speaking to a social media expert. He is the host of Tech Sabado on Radio 5. Jing Garcia will be joining us after this quick break. Okay, welcome back to the program agenda. You're watching us via Cignal TV, channels 8 and 250, as well as on facebook.com/OneNewsPH and on YouTube. And we want to thank PLDT Fiber Optic Internet kasi po whether it is here in Capitolio, Pasig, or out in our place in Lipas City, we always have a great connection. Now, today, we are joined by a streaming tech talk show host, managing editor at Radio 5's Tech Sabado. He is also a Sunday business and tech editor at the Manila Times. We have with us Jing Garcia. Jing, good morning to you. Wala ka audio, brother.
It always happens, sorry. Good morning, Sito, and glad to be back here.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. You know,
Yes.
Jing, I have to be honest, medyo, because of the upcoming elections, I got deeper and deeper into the tech part of the election, particularly the impact of social media.
Yes.
And, you know, I don't know if you've watched that documentary, Social Dilemma.
Yeah, I did, yes.
Yeah, and if you remember, Social Dilemma was a very disturbing documentary dahil doon pinakita ng mga filmmakers that yung mga naggawa ng mga social media platforms meant it for good, but it was now turned into tools of evil.
Yes.
And I'm not being religious, no? Kasi mind manipulation, culture manipulation, etc. Now you're the tech expert in the room, so could you please educate our viewers the good and the bad of social media? Kasi dito sa Pilipinas sa eleksyon, the biggest fear of many is magagamit na naman ang Facebook, Twitter, etc. para mag-away-away ang tao. Could you please educate our viewers how this happens and how to avoid it short of shutting down your social media account?
Yes, everything you said, is actually true. It has become, social media has become a monster that is hard to tame right now. So it all started, siguro this was in 2011. Remember the Arab Spring when most of the many Arab nations went to social media to try to to do their protests online, and somehow some of them even toppled governments. So that at that point nagkaroon ng idea na pwede palang mag-manipulate ng social media and turn things around. Kasi alam naman natin, we started with social media. Remember, if you were in Friendster or MySpace before, it was just for connecting people, connecting families, connecting with friends. exchanging
Naghahanap
recipes.
ng naghahanap ng ex-girlfriend o
Yeah, yes,
i-stalk
yes.
yung ex-boyfriend.
Mismo, or exchanging recipes, exchanging cat videos. That was a simple life back then. It was
Mhm.
those days are gone. Social media has been weaponized. It has been exploited by black operatives. Talagang ang tawag ko diyan black ops eh. Talagang it extensively. This was discovered especially nung panahon ng Cambridge Analytica na pwede pala natin manipulate yung mga tao. Pwede pala
Mhm.
natin baliktarin yung kanilang yung kanilang pag-iisip through social media. Just push
Paki-explain
it.
sa viewers natin paano ginagawa ito. Kasi na-surprise ako. Pwede tayong, sabihin natin tayo kambal,
Mm,
magkambal, living in the same house and using the same instruments. And I was under the impression na kung ano yung nasa screen ko o sa phone ko, malamang at malamang nakikita mo rin.
mm,
Common ang ating
mm.
mga points of references. But based on the data and the documentaries,
It's
this
not.
is not the case. I could
Yes.
be watching heaven and you could be
You watch
watching hell.
hell. That's true. That's true. It's because of the algorithms that the social media companies created. It's a trade secret sa kanila kung ano yung algorithm na yun, how it works. But for Facebook, it's obviously it's a different thing na something na if you like something, yun ang lalabas sa sa news feed mo, kumbaga sa front page mo. So it creates your own bubble. It's a bubble na,
Mhm.
akala mo everyone's this color. Pero sa totoo lang, kayo lang pala yun. Tapos ganun din. No? I'm talking about both political spectrums. Talagang,
Mm.
the thing is, siyempre, misinformation, disinformation, kumakalat sa social media. Pero sino yung mas may advantage pagdating sa disinformation and misinformation? At sino may kailangan yan? Siyempre, it's always the one with the deep pocket and also trying to survive politically.
Mhm.
Yun eh. Ganun yun.
Pero napansin ko, there was something in that documentary that caught my attention. Kasi ikaw naman, malayo ka na, PhD ka na sa sa ganitong technology. Ako, elementary pa lang. Ano? Pero I've always known about yung bang profile.
Mm.
Kung advertiser ako, pwede kong sabihin sa Facebook o sa social media platform, bigyan nyo ko ng 1,000 people na age between voting age, resident of Metro Manila, male or female, exclude na yung ganito ganon, and
Mm.
then kung pwede pa nga pati color of eyes, 'di ba? Etc. or graduated from this university.
Mm. Yes.
Tapos mapipili nila yung mga taong 'yon and doon papakawalan yung
Yun
mga
information.
information. Kasi
Yes.
nagtataka ako, Jing, pinapadalan ako ng pinapadala nitong gambling mga advertisements.
Mm.
Pare ko, hindi naman ako nagsusugal. And then, so I tried to analyze. I said, what is going on here? And then I realized that I have 2 or 3 friends who posts online gambling
Mm. Yes.
articles or mga ads. So sabi ko, ayun, dahil pala dito
Yes.
sa mga tulonggis na ito. So all of them, lahat ng friends nila
Yes.
makaka-receive nun, correct?
Yes. Oh, yes. Parang you got caught on the web of the algorithm. Kasi actually in Facebook itself, no, yung advertising ng Facebook, you can actually choose or target the people you want.
Mm.
Ganun din naman yung mga advertisers at the same time, ganun din naman yung mga nagpo-push din ng ng mga kanilang gusto nila i-push na information. Talagang targeted individuals kasi isa yun sa mga selling point ng Facebook. Kasi nga parating sinasabi ng analyst, tayo yung produkto. Kasi Facebook is free, social media is free. So tayo
Yeah.
yung produkto, hindi tayo hindi tayo consumer. Ang consumer talaga yung advertiser kasi gusto nila makuha yung target audience ng advertiser. Kaya mapapansin mo even yun, mag-click ka lang once. Kunwari, na-curious ka lang dito sa sa isang ganda nitong rubber shoes na itong shinare ng friend ko.
Oh,
Pansin mo, Lazada, Shopee, all the shopping networks pasok sa'yo.
binabaha ka na. But
Kaya baha
Jing,
ka na.
what about yung mga politicians? Because that's
Mm.
what got me started, no? Sabi nila Myanmar kanya maraming pinatay na Muslim Rohingyans because the military there used Facebook
Mm.
to create a lot of hate. During the Trump election candidacy and the attempt to overtake the Capitol building, it was determined that there were a lot of trolls, not necessarily Americans. May Russian group
Yes.
who were paying Nigerian operatives, mga locals, who were managing troll farms in Nigeria to post hate speech, mga white supremacists, mga intriga. Paano ginagawa yan dito sa Pilipinas? How was it done in the past? How can it be done? So that Filipinos will realize na, teka, I don't want to hear any political message or any mga banat, left or right.
So ano no nangyayari kasi these are pages, these are not just personal profile. Kasi when you create a page on Facebook, it suddenly becomes a business. You can you can transform this into a business. Doon sa page na yun, nandun na yung mga selection how to target people for your page if you want to be if you want your page to be a business entity. And the thing is, yun na na-exploit ng mga manipulators, itong mga black operatives. And they can actually do that globally. Hindi lang sila restricted sa kanilang area. So dito, ganun din. Kung ano yung kwento mo, ganun din nangyari. This has been tackled by by a whistleblower called named Sophie Zhang back in 2020 and substantiated by the recent whistleblower insider ng Facebook si Francis Hoyens. Yes.
Yeah.
So kumbaga, totoo talaga. Alam nila. They're from the inside, they can see it what's happening. And one of the listed companies, Sophie Zhang, kasamang Philippines dyan.
Pati nga si Maria Ressa, di ba, in her recent article, Facebook does not believe in journalism, nor does it believe in the truth. It just believes in profit.
Kasi they have Mark Zuckerberg has this twisted idea of freedom of expression. Tayo sa media, tinitira tayo sa media kasi sabi nila restricted daw tayo. Siyempre, we also vet ourselves. But Facebook doesn't. Yun ang difference kasi ng media sa social media.
Alam mo, Jing, I will correct you there. Facebook censors. They only censors if you're selling something without their permission.
ito pa masabi ko about Facebook. Inside the US, talagang protective sila sa democracy. Kaya kasagat-tagat yung mga Republicans sa Facebook. Pero outside, it's a different story. It's a tyrant's dream.
Okay. So paano na ngayon yan, no? Please give us your pointers or what can Filipinos do kahit na mga simpleng bagay lang. Kasi ako talagang nag-iingat na ako ngayon. Nag-iingat ako sa mga sinishare sa akin, nababasa ko. Kasi akala mo genuine article. Pero pag inanalyze mo, teka, tarang ogag itong article na ito, nililihis ang katotohanan. What should Filipinos do?
Doon ako parating tatanong din kahit yung mga schools na kinakausap ako, mga talk show, they always ask me what to do. And it's really hard. Kasi, alam mo, the very reason mo kung bakit ginagawa ito ng Black Ops. Kasi they're creating a zero trust society. I was listening kanina sa interview with human rights people, and that's what happened, di ba? They created a zero trust on human rights commission. Yun yung isa sa mga ginawa nila. Talagang sinira talaga nila. Ganon din ginawa nila sa atin sa media. Kaya struggling tayo since 2012 actually. This struggle and this got worse in 2016. So what to do? Ay nako, ang hirap talaga kasi masyado ng kalat ang Facebook all over the Philippines. And this is ang Facebook nga is the internet ng mga Filipino. Ang the best way is just kung alam niyo na fake or disinformation yung pinopost sa inyo, try to message the person. Kung ayaw niyang especially kung family or friend, try to message the person and ask him or her kung talagang accurate yung information na ginagawa nila o na pinopost nila or pinupush nila. If not, you can actually report it to Facebook. Pero yun na nga problema yung Facebook, hindi natin alam yung community standards nila, how it works. Sometimes even
Yeah.
legit information
Oh,
nabablock
pati yung
nila.
kaibigan natin Pulitzer Prize Award winner,
Yes, oo.
si Manny
Si
Magano.
Manny. Ganun na nga
Pinagtulungan siya ng mga troll, ni-report siya ng ni-report sa Facebook. Kung sino
Yes.
yung matino, yung pa yung
Yung pa yung nabablock.
na-block.
Yes.
And na-restore naman daw, according to Manny,
Yeah.
na-restore naman. But
Makipagkulitan ka lang naman sa Facebook about it.
okay, but in any case, so if you feel and siguro no bago tayo magdesisyon kung truth or false, dapat mag-research tayo online.
Yes.
Kasi maraming mga tao
outside
dyan.
Facebook. Research outside Facebook.
Oo, wag Dr. Google, wag mga kung ano-ano. Magtanong sa mga mapapagkatiwalaan
Yes.
and established information sources. Kasi ang nangyayari ayaw ko yung jing na yan, long hair yan. Ayaw ko ng ganito, ganyan yan. Bla black na lang. Wag pong ganon because maraming magagaling na expert dyan. Okay, now what else, Jing?
Mention ko lang, it's also sad to see na yung Filipino can't distinguish satire from actual news or disinformation.
But they cannot distinguish from satire and sarcasm.
Yung sarcasm. Totoo yan. I think it's still education. Education. Kailangan yata ilagay na sa curriculum natin Yung kahit hindi social media, kahit man lang to have a critical thinking, yun lang talagang kailangan talaga yun, importante sa mga Pilipino talaga.
Siguro ang pinakamagaling Jing promote natin good manners and right conduct kasi ako yun na lang ang ginawa kong baseline tungkol dito sa mga kandidato. Pag binayolate mo yung good manners and right conduct, upakan kita kagad. Regardless of whether you are right or left because that is the culture.
Yes. Even sa comment section, kailangan talaga ng GMRC talaga. Sa mga comment section special coming from Filipinos.
Okay, meron tayong mga comment from Mr. Blackman. I use the algorithm of social media to my advantage. For example, I collect vintage clocks, so I will do a few searches on Google and on FB Market. Kumbaga, ginagamit na yun. Pero for politics, it is a question of what to do. So,
yun naman dapat talaga ang point ng social media is to connect people, even for business, small business, big business. Yun lang naman talaga. Hindi naman kailangan to destroy other people or other political parties. Yun lang naman.
Okay. Kumbaga, social media should not include politics.
Mismo.
Okay. I thank you very much, Jing. Kasi naalala ko bigla yung sinabi doon sa Snoopy ba, yung Charlie Brown. The things I have learned not to share with people, politics, religion, and the great pumpkin. Yung pantasya ni Charlie Brown, di ba? So, wag na nating i-share yung politics, religion, and the great pumpkin. Anyway, thank you once again, Jing, and I do hope we can have more of these conversations.
Yes, sure.
Magising ang Pilipino na ang nangyayari, as you mentioned and quoted from the documentary, we have become the product. Tayo yung binebenta ng mga social media platform doon sa mga advertiser.
Yes.
So, yon ang tragedy. Thank you very much, Jing.
You're welcome. Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, yan po si Jing Garcia, host ng Tech Sabado on Radyo 5 and also with the Manila Times Sunday Business and Tech Editor. Okay, that's all we have for today. I leave you with the commanded blessing of the Lord. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his face toward you and give you peace. God bless all of you. Please keep it here on One News PH. Thank you. Have a good day.